Hello everyone, my name is Natalie and welcome to my channel. Today I will be recommending and reviewing 3 YA books that I had to read recently for a project in an English class. It was kind of like book reports, but as a teacher resource. But anyway, I thought that I'd share them with y'all. The first book is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. This is more on the lower end of YA. It kind of spans middle grade and YA. While I do think it's a book that everyone can read and enjoy, I do think it is more suitable for younger readers than the other 2 books I will talk about later. This book follows a 13-year-old boy named Connor O'Malley. His mother has been diagnosed with cancer and her condition is worsening, but Connor is in denial that she may die. He's dealing with a lot of grief and anger, and on top of that, he's isolated and bullied at school. He is struggling with his father having a new family and life in America after his parents divorced. And he also doesn't get along very well with his grandma, which is a problem because he will have to move in with her when his mom's condition gets really bad, if she has to be hospitalized, and if/when she dies from the cancer, he will move in with her permanently. Anyway, he's been having these really bad nightmares, and he ends up being visited by this monster in the form of a yew tree. And the monster wants Connor's truth, the thing he is most afraid to face. So the monster tells him 3 stories, and after the last story, Connor must tell his own, the one that tells his truth. This book deals with some pretty heavy topics: death and grief, complicated family dynamics, bullying, and I think it's all handled fairly realistically and empathetically. This book is also very short. It's just around 200 pages, and in reality, it's even shorter than that. The edition I have is illustrated, so the illustrations are taking up some of the page space, and I also feel like the font was a bit bigger than normal. It's just the formatting that makes it 200 pages. The chapters are also very short, quick and easy to read in terms of the length. And it's really easy to just move straight on into another chapter. And it's really easy to read this book in a short amount of time. I think I read this in 2 days, but that was also factoring in all the other school stuff and classes that were going on at the time. I kind of like that it is a shorter book given the content and subject matter. You can take breaks if you need to, but it's still easy to get back into with these short chapters, and you're not going to get discouraged by the number of pages you have left when you put the book down. The only thing I didn't like was the narrative voice. Obviously, your main character is younger. It's written in third person limited, but the narrative voice it just came off as very young to me, and it was something that just stuck out to me and kind of bothered me. I don't know why, because I do read and typically enjoy a fair amount of middle grade books, but that's just something to note. Also, the ending made me cry. It's heavily foreshadowed throughout the book. You think you know what's going to happen, you think you can prepare yourself for it, and you can't. It's not okay. You are not okay. I gave this book 3.5 out of 5 stars, I think. Yeah, 3.5. And I did enjoy it, and I do still recommend it, and I probably will reread it. It is kind of hard to rate those books that have content like this, where they're not necessarily books you can enjoy. I just have a harder time rating those. And also with just the writing style, I'm not saying it's badly written or anything. This wasn't jamming with me. The second book I want to recommend is With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars, and it was also my highest rated / favorite read from October. With the Fire on High is about a girl named Emily who is a senior in high school, so like most seniors, she's worrying about her future and trying to figure out what she's going to do with the rest of her life. But unlike most seniors, she has a baby. She was that girl that your mom warns you about, who is pregnant before the end of freshman year. She is having to balance school with work and taking care of her baby and grandmother when she gets the opportunity to take a culinary arts elective. Emily has always loved cooking. Everyone says she has like this magical talent in the kitchen, and it's her dream to go to culinary school. She's just not sure if that's something she can do as a teen mom. I love this book. I love books that delve into family relationships and dynamics, and it does have a lot of complicated family issues. She is having to navigate co-parenting with her ex-boyfriend, who cares a lot about their baby but couldn't care less about Emily, as well as just all the stigmas around being a teen mom. Her normally very supportive and encouraging grandmother has been acting a little strangely and disappearing for long hours and lots of doctor's appointments, and it's worrying Emily. She kind of likes this new guy at school, but she's not sure if she can allow herself to trust a guy and fall in love again after how her ex-boyfriend treated her after she got pregnant. She's also dealing with complicated feelings regarding her father and her relationship with him. Her father pretty much abandoned her and left her for her grandmother to take care of after her mother died in childbirth, and he went back to Puerto Rico. He visits about once a year, but he never stays for long and never really wants to stick around. He's not very involved in Emily's life, and she feels this sense of abandonment and loneliness because of it, and she's also frustrated as to why he is so involved in like his community and helping other people when he won't give his own family the time. This book also addresses race and culture a lot. Emily is Black and Puerto Rican, and her identity plays a lot into the book, especially in her cooking. So yeah, lots of family stuff, growing up and finding yourself and figuring out your life, and everything that I love about coming of age stories. I loved the character development Emily went through, and I thought the portrayal of teenagers was fairly realistic. There was some slightly unnecessary drama I wasn't really into, but other than that, I really enjoyed the book. Some of my favorite scenes were actually when Emily was cooking, just how the process is described and its effect, how it's healing and therapeutic and a way for Emily to connect with family members she's never really gotten to know and with her culture. The third and last book I want to recommend to you today is Rose Under Fire by Elizabeth Veen. This is one of those books that's totally in my comfort zone. That is, it's about women in the world wars. It's one of those tough but sweet and heartbreaking reads, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It follows an American pilot named Rose Justice, who has volunteered to be a part of the British Air Transport Auxiliary, yes, the ATA, during World War II. She wants to be a fighter pilot, but at this time, women are only allowed to transport planes from base to base. During a regular transport flight, she ends up being captured by Nazi soldiers and is sent to Ravensbrück, one of the most notorious women's concentration camps during this time. While she is there, she meets and bonds with several other prisoners. You have Lisette, who was a famous French novelist and was arrested and imprisoned for marrying a Jewish man. Her husband and her sons were also murdered by the Nazi soldiers. There is Irina, who is a fighter pilot and an outstanding member of the Soviet Union's Air Force and a leader in their female pilot unit. However, because she was interrogated by the Nazis for so long, she can't return to her country because she will be arrested for being a traitor. Then you have Rosa, who is one of what they call the Polish rabbits. They were Polish prisoners who were medically tortured and experimented on by Nazi doctors in the concentration camps. And lastly, there is Karolina, who is a Polish filmmaker who was arrested for showing an anti-Nazi film. She was also experimented Rose Under Fire is split into 3 different parts based around Rose's location. Part 1 is Southampton, Part 2 is Ravensbrück, and Part 3 is Nuremberg. It starts out in Southampton, which is where the airbase is located, and it just sets up the story and establishes Rose's character. Ravensbrück is the longest part of the book, and then you have Nuremberg, which is about Rose's journey toward healing after the concentration camp, and it also delves into some of the trials charging Nazi leaders and people involved in the concentration camps with war crimes and crimes against humanity. Each of these parts reveal more about Rose. You really get to know her, and she goes through a lot of character development. She starts out kind of naive and ignorant of how the war has really affected Europe. America didn't enter the war until several years after it started, so while she was going to summer camps and having all this fun with her friends and stuff, there were people fighting and dying and being abused in concentration camps. Once she realizes this, she deals with a lot of guilt over the course of the book. This book has some pretty graphic and disturbing scenes in it, mainly in the Ravensbrück section. It goes into a fair amount of detail multiple times about the kinds of medical experiments the Polish prisoners were subjected to. There's a mention of a woman being so hungry and starving that she ate her hands. Rose is also beaten and whipped multiple times. And then of course you have the third part of the book where she's dealing with all this trauma, wondering if people will believe her, if she can even tell someone what happened, and if she can face the world again and have a real life. This book was very well researched. It shows a lot of the creative solutions prisoners in the concentration camps came up with to solve a lot of problems, like getting medicine and other desperately needed supplies, communicating with prisoners who were in other cell blocks or work crews, their acts of passive resistance against the concentration camp guards, and also how they protected people who were sentenced to be executed. And also just the things they did for fun to try and make each other happy and just brighten up their circumstances. And it's in these particular moments where you really see the found family trope. It's come to life. And to me, the character dynamics are pretty believable. However, you get to know Rose a lot, but you don't get to know the other women very much, and that is something that affected my rating of the book. I wanted to get to know them a bit better. You also have the format it's written in. It's in a series of diary entries, and there's also some letters between Rose's friends and family once she goes missing. During the Southampton and Nuremberg parts, the diary entries are being written in her present as everything is happening. For Ravensbrück, she is looking back on what has happened in the concentration camp. She's writing down everything that happened to help kind of face and cope with it, and also because she feels like she can't really tell anyone else. I liked the format. I usually don't have a problem with epistolary formats like this, but in the Ravensbrück part, the entries could get really long. We're talking 30 to 40 pages, and especially with the content matter it was dealing with, it made it difficult to read sometimes. The last part, Nuremberg, was necessary in conveying her journey of healing, the kind of trauma she was coping with, things like that. And I did like that it kind of went into the trials and how that was affecting people. But there was some information in there I thought was unnecessary, and it was the slowest moving of the parts. Overall, I did like it, and I do still highly recommend it. I definitely appreciate the amount of research the author put into. She does provide a list of some of the resources she used, as well as accounts from concentration camp survivors in the back of the book. She's also written a whole series about female fighter pilots that are loosely related. And so I do kind of want to look into those. Okay, those are all 3 of the books I wanted to recommend to you. I hope you enjoyed this video and discovered a new book that you want to read. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and click the notification bell. Have a wonderful rest of your day, keep reading, and I will see you next time here on the Mighty Quill. Okay, those are all 3 of the books I wanted to recommend to you. I hope you enjoyed this video and discovered a new book that you want to read. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and click the notification bell. Have a wonderful rest of your day, keep reading, and I will see you next time here on the Mighty Quill.